Hello, everyone, and welcome back to, my channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Today we're going to be, kind of figuring out the fursonas of every world leader. The, recording date is, April of 2024, so if there's an election that goes on and I'm a little bit late, sorry. I record these alphabetically, and when they come out, they come out. So we're going to go through all of the A countries, starting with, of course, Afghanistan. And the current leader of Afghanistan is this fellow, whose name I'm not even going to fucking try to pronounce. I've thought about this, and I'm thinking, okay, this guy is, he has no digital footprint, no bank account, and probably does not have, probably doesn't have a birth certificate. And this is all according to just his, like, Wikipedia article that you're looking at. From what I understand, he's, your typical, theocratic dictator, blah, blah, blah. And, in the new regime in Afghanistan, they have changed even the anthem of Afghanistan, and there is a line in this anthem where they say, "Afghanistan, this is the home of the martyrs and of the lions." And so I figured it would only be fitting that his fursona would be a lion. Up next we have. Again, I'm not going to bother pronouncing his name, but I'll give it a go. Bajram Begaj, who is the current president of Albania. Now, he is a man of medicine. He has a doctorate degree and everything. He is someone who served in a military setting as well, and was a officer. He was a major general, if I believe. If I remember correctly, he was a major general. And thus, I figured it would only be fitting for a fursona to be something highly technical. And I think, okay, if you're a doctor or working in a hospital, you have a very high IQ. Where are all the high IQ nerd furries? They are all one of several small fursonas. Like, they're all dragons or they are all rats. But I think there is only one fursona that is very fitting for Mr. Begaj. And I don't think the world is ready for this. But unfortunately, Pandora's box has already been opened. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the Albanian furry, an Albanian fucking protogen. An Albanian protogen. Ladies and gentlemen, may God have mercy on us all. Up next, we have this guy. Again, I'm not going to pronounce his name. Everyone who from Algeria will butcher me for butchering their language. But again, highly educated, professional. He was at some point the head of housing, and a lot of his domestic policy seems to be about building and construction and whatnot. And while I am not an expert in Algerian politics, he seems like an alright guy. He doesn't seem like he's, I don't know, like banning elections or declaring himself president for life. So we're going to go with a strong and steady representation and a strong and steady, fursona. Someone who would probably build houses. We're going to go with a falcon. I don't know if falcons build nests, but that's just what I was feeling. Up next, we have the current Prime Minister of Andorra. Andorra's politics are very weird. So technically, he's not the leader. Technically, the quote-unquote real leaders of Andorra are whoever the French president is and whoever the bishop of the Catholic Church for that area is. So there's like a priest somewhere in Andorra who is the quote unquote co-prince of the principality, along with the current French president Emmanuel Macron, and this guy. But for the most part, this gentleman here, Xavier Zamora, is the leader of the country. Now, he has come out as gay, which is pretty based. He, other than that, there's literally nothing. Like, this is basically his whole Wikipedia page. There is not a whole lot about him, but I am guessing by the fact that he is gay, and that he was born in the late 70s, and that he is wearing a very flamboyant purple tie. I can think of no fursona better to suit him than the fox. Up next, we have João Lourenço, who is the president of Angola. Now, the nation of Angola, like most African nations, has had quite a troubled history. The guy previous to João was basically president for life, typical dictator, blah, blah, blah. It seems that the current guy, João, is doing his best to not become another dictator in Africa. He fought in the Angolan Civil War, so he's not afraid of violence. He in recent years he's been lifting the more stricter laws and has been a lot more lenient towards LGBTQ people and whatnot, and legalized the first LGBTQ collective. And he's relatively more progressive than most people in Angola, I can imagine. So with him lifting the total ban on abortion and whatnot, I think he has earned himself the... when I think of progressive and African and fursona, I can think of only one animal, and that is the giraffe, leading the way forward for Angola and the rest of the continent. Up next, we have Gaston Brown, who is the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, which is a adherent of the Commonwealth. It is a Caribbean nation. And he is a conservative, and he is with the conservative Labour Party, because over there, Labour Party is right-wing for some reason. And I don't really know too much about him per se, apart from, like, he has a family, and, he has a family, and he has an education, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, an MBA in finance, okay, so do most people in America's Congress. But he's a right-winger. He has a very familiar mustache, as you can see. And he's pretty close to the royal family. So, and the royal families are allegedly German. So I went with a German Shepherd for this one. I genuinely like I can't make a crab with this AI that I'm using. So this is the best we have to do. That, and he just gives German Shepherd vibes with that mustache. Now, this is the one y'all have probably been waiting for this whole episode, Javier Milei. Now, originally, I was going to go for, like, a wolf. Because, Wolf of Wall Street, he's an ANCAP, he is, he's very, the typical... blah, 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 ANCAP, I want banks and corporations to run everything, etc., etc. However, a lot of his fans, probably because of Donald Trump and Donald Trump's iconography of lions, a lot of his fans have depicted him as a lion, and a lot of people have kind of memed that he would have a lion fursona. So I didn't need to do too much work. Hey, least racist lion fursona. We have a second lion already in our lineup. Um, no offense to any, like, black lion fursonas out there, but, like, a lot of people with lion fursonas, they can be pretty fucking problematic for some reason. Up next, we have this gentleman who, again, I'm not going to pronounce that. I'm not Armenian. He fought in the Soviet army. He is extremely, like, you have to be a pretty smart dude to become the minister of high-tech industry in your country. So I would say he's a man who's not afraid of action, seeing as he served in the Soviet army. And he is a man of intelligence and technical knowledge. Someone who fights and someone who's good with technology. And in my experience, we already had one fucking protogen, so we couldn't do that, and I felt like it would be kind of insulting to make him like a rat or a mouse fursona, so I went with a dragon. That and, like, the dude's older than sin. Dragon. Alright, next we have Anthony Albanese, who is the current Prime Minister of Australia, and has been the leader of the Labour Party, blah, 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 since 2019. So anyway, he, from his early childhood, from what I've read of his early childhood, he is very salt of the earth, grew up with an alcoholic father, really tragic backstory, but genuinely deep down is a good person who cares deeply about the climate change and democracy and freedom and fairness and so on. He strikes me as someone who has seen some shit and has gone through some shit, but he doesn't let that define him or give him an excuse to be a villain. And you only really find that in the furries. And I was thinking of something like I was thinking of making him a wallaby, but I think that would be a little too insulting. And he genuinely reminds me a lot of I think it would also kind of be insulting, like, oh, haha, Australian animal as your fursona. He reminds me also a lot of this one guy I met who had a rabbit fursona, so I went with a rabbit. That, and if you've ever met someone with a rabbit fursona, they are the nicest people on earth, but if they have to fucking, like, beat the shit out of you, they will. Next up, we have Alexander van der Bellen. And he was born in Austria to Russian and Estonian parents who were refugees from the occupation of the Baltic states. He's a naturalized citizen. He is someone who has traveled a lot, has been part of 3 different political parties, is currently an independent. He's a centrist liberal, supports Greens. He is the closest thing we have to an Austrian Bernie Sanders, really, from what I can tell of him and his political record. And he is a descendant of royalty, as you can see with the Russian Empire's aristocratic van der Bellen family. So I found it only fair to give him an owl fursona, because he is, much like an owl, very regal. Finally, we have Ilham Aliyev. Now, to all the Armenians in the audience, you know, the one Armenian who will see this, you know, the one person who will see this probably. Listen, I try to stay neutral on things I'm not educated about, but I've looked into this guy, and he's been president since, like, 2003. It's now 2024. He's been in power for 20 years. I know a dictator when I see one. It's not even the Stalin mustache. It's not the money laundering. It's not any of it. It is just his quote about how Armenia is so bad he wouldn't even have it as a client state. He would just annex it totally, and that the Armenians aren't even worth being servants. He said that. It's on his Twitter. So, so for me, I'm just like, okay, this guy's a villain. He knows that he's a villain. He is proudly a villain. And he probably, you know, every time he plays Red Dead Redemption 2, the only button he presses is antagonize, like, over and over. So, without further ado, he is clearly a shark furry. Clearly. Absolutely 100% a shark. And with that, I think we're done here.